coming out of the NBA regarding Ja Morant and the suspension handed down from the NBA, and he will be suspended for 25 games, according to our Adrian Wojnarowski. Stephen A., your thoughts on this?
Not surprised at all. I've been saying for weeks that it was going to be about 25 games, and sure enough, that's about right. Unfortunately, this is a suspension that Ja Morant deserved. And the suspension that he received that I think he deserved is not because of the quote-unquote mistakes or his actions or whatever. It's because it was in the aftermath of him meeting face-to-face with Adam Silver, assuring Adam Silver that he appreciated the significance and the seriousness of the situation the first go-round when he was only suspended 8 games.
Right.
And then turned around and found himself in that position again, which means that Adam Silver felt betrayed by Ja Morant because Ja Morant looked him in the face and told him one thing and went behind his back and did another and got busted. And so there's a lesson in all of that. You know, we can sit up there and we can be stars. We can have money, et cetera, but we all answer to somebody. And when you answer to other people, what you don't do is look them in their face and tell them a lie and misrepresent yourself in that way, because you're going to come back and ultimately pay a price for that. That's all I have to say, because I got somebody that's far more important to hear from me on this situation than than me. Adrian Wojnarowski just rolled up in here. What's up, my man? Good to see you on the
had a very busy morning this
morning.
It is a busy morning.
Yeah.
Right.
We saw your tweet, got your notifications on Twitter. What is the latest regarding Ja Morant?
25-game suspension to start next season for Ja Morant. I'm also told there will be conditions to his return. I think those will be clarified here soon by the league office. But I think the Grizzlies, those around the NBA, were bracing for the possibility. It could have been even more. But 25 games is significant, certainly to start the season, at least for Memphis now. They know they can start their offseason planning with the understanding of how long they'll be without Ja Morant. But there's a lot of work for this organization, for Ja Morant, together to do to get back on course, regain the trust, I think not just for that organization, that community, but for one of the league's, the faces of this league, to regain that trust.
I want to ask you, Woj, before we go to everybody else, this 25 games, I'm not surprised by it. I don't think you're surprised by it. Based on the people that you've talked to around the league, in the league office and, of course, with the Memphis Grizzlies and beyond, why specifically do you believe this was 25 games? Was it because of just a gun? Was it because you told Adam Silver one thing, did another? What do you believe, based on what you're being told, is the specific reason the penalty was this stiff?
Well, remember, 8 games last season, late in the year, and now 25 games. Here's one, and this is new, one jumping off point that has impact. If you're suspended, if you miss 18 games now, there's a 65-game minimum that players have to play to make All-NBA, to be MVP, to win Defensive Player of the Year. Well, he's out of consideration now, Ja Morant is, for any of those postseason awards. That will kick in with this new collective bargaining agreement. You know, you looked at the Miles Bridges suspension in Charlotte, 30 games. You know, you've got to find some precedent here. And for the league, I think the Players Association, if this was half the season, if this was the entire season, different scenarios people threw out, there wouldn't have been precedent for that. But your history does matter. Ja Morant has been under investigation by the NBA for well over a year on a number of different incidences. They went through it with him last season at the end with the gun situation in the Denver nightclub. And again, listen, his career, his future, again, as a face of this league, is in peril if his behavior doesn't change. I think they're starting to see things in Memphis that give them some hope, some confidence that it will. But Ja Morant is going to, through his actions, have to show this over time.
Last question. Any idea at all what kind of effect? Because I'm calculating he's going to lose about $12 million next season. He was scheduled a new contract kicked in, potential 5 years, $231 million potentially. Obviously, he's going from $12 million, about $33 million in salary. He's going to lose about $12 million of his salary this year. Any idea, Nike, Powerade, any of those guys, and what kind of effect this could have on that?
Yeah, it remains to be seen endorsement-wise. You know, I think you want to keep the ones you have right now, but his ability to get that Supermax deal was based on making All-NBA. He didn't make any of the All-NBA teams this season. I think certainly the suspension played a part in people's voting, and now he's really already out of the mix for that next year. So in terms of getting that Supermax versus the max, getting that $230 million plus you talked about, Stephen A., he's not able to get that now.
All right, let's bring Kendrick Perkins into this conversation. Perk, you're hearing everything that we're just talking about, Stephen A's reaction. What is your reaction to Ja Morant getting 25-game suspension?
Well, I think it's fair. And to all the quote-unquote experts out there who think that, 25 games, that's nothing, that's a lot. That's a lot for an NBA player. And I want to say this, too, to add on to it. Stephen A. and Woj just talked about the amount of money that Ja is going to lose because of the suspension, the amount of money that he lost last year because of the suspension. Think about the endorsements that he has lost. And as a guy that led the league in technical fouls and was up there and was suspended at times, ejected from the game, I think I lost about $300,000. And I think about that every single day that I'm retired, about how I gave my money back that I worked so hard to get to this point to earn. And so my message to all the young guys that are still out there in the league, don't give your damn money back. Don't give it back. No matter what you got to do, no matter what rules or what guidelines you got to follow, know that you signed up for this. Know how to be a true professional.
According to our Adrian Wojnarowski, the Warriors are in a deal or in an agreement on a deal with Mike Dunleavy Jr. to make him their new GM. Dunleavy is elevating from Vice President of Basketball Operations and will replace former President and GM Bob Myers, who recently stepped down after 11 seasons and 4 championships. Stephen A., what do you think of this move?
I don't have a problem with it. I think that he's been a part of the organization for a little while. Obviously, Joe Lacob, Peter Guber, Steve Kerr, and guys have some trust in him. I'm not sure how much he wanted this job, to be quite honest with you, but Mike Dunleavy is not stupid. His father was a great coach in the NBA for years. He's very knowledgeable about the game of basketball. Damn good player, by the way, too. Good shooter, damn good player at Duke. Obviously knows his basketball, but this is not an opportunity he could have turned down. That's not knocking at your door every day.
Yeah.
The reluctance for anybody to take this job at this particular moment in time is that Joe Lacob's sons, Kirk and Kent, are very instrumental. They're contributors to the Warriors' success, and according to a lot of folks, they have a desire to be in an elevated position. It doesn't get more elevated, believe it or not, than them, because you are the children, literally the son of the owner. And both of them, I think, are very, very capable. But to have that hovering over you is a challenge that everybody isn't willing to accept or isn't willing to, fervently embrace. But Mike Dunleavy could not turn down this opportunity. I think he knows that. And I wish him good luck.
Yeah.
Seems like a really, every time I've interacted with him, really good guy, obviously very knowledgeable about the game. And I wish him good luck. And he was, working under Bob Myers, certainly, I think, has helped him.
Yeah, for sure. We'll see how he does out there in the Bay with the Warriors.
Zion is not too fond of David Griffin. I'm not saying David Griffin is completely wrong there, because obviously he's got to run the organization, and you got a guy that's missing 64% of the time at work. So I'm not about to take Zion's side on that point. And I don't know anything about the whole Teresa Weatherspoon situation, but I will say this to you. You know what? If you had me, you know how they said you had me at hello with Jerry Maguire? You had me until you brought up the fact that she worked Zion out. Because damn it, somebody, that's not good enough. That should not be her claim to fame. Please tell me something other than that, because this brother's missing 64% of his games. Always hurt. Always hurt.
No,
and throwing 60 dunks in warm-ups, but can't get in a damn layup line in the uniform for a game. We need to see this brother on the court now. Let me say this.
But that has nothing to do with his health. I'm talking about his.
I'm just talking about what you brought up.
Okay.
I'm just talking about what you brought up. I'm just talking about what you brought up about her. That's why I'm just saying don't mention that. because he messes that up for her.
Okay.
I'm not throwing no shade on her. I'm
Right,
saying he
right,
messes
right.
that
Okay,
up
I
for her
see
because
what
he ain't
Right.
playing. Let me get back to Tom Thibodeau and Ty Lue, please, because I got to get back to Wendy on this right here. Okay, let's understand something, Wendy. Tibbs is 65, Ty Lue is 46. Okay, Ty Lue's won 2 championships as a player and 1 as a head coach. Okay, I'm looking at Tibbs. I like Tibbs. I'm not advocating that the New York Knicks fire him or anything like that. I'm not advocating that he doesn't be a head coach in this league. But when the dust settled and I checked my emotions, because obviously I'm very emotional about the New York Knicks, and when they lost in the playoffs, I was very salty about it. So what I do is I go back, I DVR every game, and I go back and I watch the tape, and I looked at Julius and I'm like, damn, I'm watching 2 years ago in the playoffs. I'm watching this year in the playoffs. You got to make some adjustments. I'm looking at what Eric Spoelstra does. I'm looking at what Ty Lue does. I'm looking at what Steve Kerr does. I'm even looking at some of the adjustments that Darvin Ham has made. And I'm looking for the adjustments that Tom Thibodeau has made, and I didn't see much of it. And when you know what's coming, if you're the opposition, that doesn't put Julius Randle in the greatest position to succeed. So I'm not going to just hold it towards him. I'm going to look at Tibbs, and I'm going to look at Tibbs, a good head coach, considered a great defensive mind, and I'm looking at the Knicks tied for 23rd in defensive rating. I'm paying attention to all of this for one reason and one reason only. I personally want Ty Lue, and I love Steve Ballmer. And I think the Clippers are a first-class organization. Very proud of them. They need to get their own home. I can't wait till they move in their own arena. You don't want to be the fair-weather stepchild in Los Angeles because that's Laker Nation all day, every day. Go ahead and move, where you're moving, okay? But I got to tell you this. When I think about Ty Lue, I personally want Ty Lue out of Los Angeles. I think what the Clippers, I'm talking about Kawhi and his perpetually injured self, all right? Paul George, God bless him, plays and then gets injured or whatever. I'm just thinking about the games these dudes have missed, and I'm saying to myself, damn, this is tough. I got this for you. Over the last 3 seasons under Ty Lue, Kawhi Leonard has missed 132 games, which includes the entire 21-22 season. Paul George has missed 95 games, all right? Lue has had the 2 in the lineup together for only 81 of a possible 236 games. That's 34%. Ty Lue, he got to get in a better situation so he can remind the basketball world how great he is. Could you imagine, and this is no shade on Tibbs, but could you imagine Ty Lue at the Garden?
Breaking news coming out of the NBA. League sources told our Adrian Wojnarowski earlier this morning that Michael Jordan is finalizing a sale of the Charlotte Hornets to a group led by Gabe Plotkin and Rick Schnall, ending his 13-year run as majority owner. An agreement is expected to be signed in the coming days, and once the sale is complete, Jordan is expected to keep a minority stake and a presence with the franchise. Stephen A., your reaction to this news?
I'm happy for him. I just think that Michael Jordan is at a certain point in life where, he made a go at it. He was the first black majority owner, obviously, in the NBA. That's not the first because Bob Johnson preceded him, but it was pivotal for him to be in that position. We know that he hasn't had the level of success that all of us would wish he had as an owner. He struggled a lot in Charlotte, smaller market. Not, people looked at him and not wanting to pay X amount of dollars because obviously you're not going to be able to afford to do but so much because you're not generating but so much money down there in Charlotte. Maybe somebody will do a better job in that regard. But me personally, when I think about anyone associated with the NBA, we all owe this man a debt of gratitude, and we all have to pay homage to him because there's 3 people that are most responsible for the NBA being in the position it is today. Larry Bird, Magic Johnson, and then Jordan took it to another level. I will always speak about him with deference and reverence because he's that special, he's that great, and I just want him to be happy. Have a minority stake, let somebody else do it, live your best life.
Yeah. As I mentioned, an agreement is expected to be signed in the coming days.
Thanks for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming, sports, and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.